G'day and welcome to part 6 on the Starlie in Technicolor. And I'm not copying Bad Obsession, they always say in colour. I'm saying Technicolor because when I was a kid I used to watch TV and everything was in Technicolor because colour TV was new back then. So that's the reason. And I thought it was funny. That's my sense of humour. Right, so in this one we paint the car. Now, the car is painted in cheap-ish single stage paint. So with a 2-pack paint, you have to add thinner and you have to add hardener, and it's all done in a measuring cup. It has to be accurate, right? This stuff, I've just been adding thinner and stirring it and looking at it, and that's not the way to do it. Paint advice, go see a qualified painter. Don't look at what I'm doing. The other thing you'll see is on the final coat's a bit random. I'm doing all this sort of stuff. When you're laying down paint, you've got your wet edge, which we've talked about before. On your final coat of metallic, you can't do that, because the wet edge will have a gathering of metallic particulate in upper stripes. So your final coat's kind of random, just to make all the metallic particulate random. So don't look at me as being the guru on painting, because I'm not, right? This is just how I've done it, and I've broken all sorts of rules and don't really care. So anyway, having said that, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so we got this in primer yesterday. We're a little bit thin in some spots. Some of this is deliberate though. I'll talk you through what I'm doing. I missed that bit. See that little bit there? I should fill that, but I'm not going to. Now, some people might be a bit critical of the way I've painted this, and there's a reason why I've done it the way I've done it. In some areas, I'm very thin with the high fill, and in others, like I'm thin there, we didn't need more. Others, I've got the gun a lot closer and I've loaded it up, so I can sand back certain areas where I've seen scratches. I'm in a suburban area, and I think it was the XC body I was painting, and I upset one of the neighbours with all the sort of fumes and everything, because I was doing it with this door open. Now I do it with the door closed and have the back door open and just do bits and pieces of it to avoid too much fallout. But not just that, I have the reg on the compressor set to 50 pounds, and I have the air turned down on the gun, which is why sometimes I'm shooting closer, just to minimise overspray and just keep the room, garage, as clear as I can while I'm painting. So what we're going to do, we're going to lay some colour down today. I don't know what this colour's like. It looks like a full body paint, like really good stuff. The Valspar stuff I used, or Rosie used on the front guard, or we both used on the front guard of the blue Starlie, is actually quite difficult to use in that it's the metallic particulate falls out of solution very quickly. It doesn't cover very well. I've got 4 litres of the green. I'm hoping it covers well. And as I said in the last video, I don't mind if I waste half a litre on the inside of the car. Whoops. So a lot of this stuff isn't even seen. This is a crash bar for the front. And the fuel cap. As I said before, we're going to do the tailgate over there and the bonnet, which is outside, separately, which isn't the right way to do it, but it's the way I'm doing it. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll open up a can of green, have a look, put the compressor on. I'll blow some of this off, and that's a bit rough there. Whereas, you know, these areas down here are silk. No, that's not. Whereas some of it's silky smooth. And that'll just be, you can see the haze in my hand. That's just a bit of loose fallout, if you like. You know, overspray fallout. So I'll tack rag it again, and we'll start throwing some paint around. I think that's probably the best thing to do. Love me to talk, and you love it when I talk, don't you? Not. Anyway, this is what we're going to do. We don't need pliers. We are using 2 guns, as we always do, or as I always do. This is a full-size gun with a 1.4mm nozzle. These guns come with 1.4, 1.8 and 2mm. 2's great for high fill if you're just dumping it on, but 1.4 for the colour. This, I've got the biggest nozzle. I've got a 1mm nozzle in this touch-up gun, but this is really good because it lets us get under sills and stuff like that. So they're the 2 guns we're going to be using, or that we always use. They are traditionally, that was from Milsom's, that was 120 bucks or something, and that was about 135. You can get $40 guns off eBay. I did find I had one, a gravity feed one. I like the gravity feed. I did have a cheap one. Going, yep. But, you know, I had a cheap one of each actually. This cheap touch-up gun, the lid all sort of fell apart. So I was using the light switch surround off the lounge room to sort of jam in the top. But the parts do wear in the metering section, and they spatter and they can carry on. They're a pain in the neck after a while. So these ones are good guns. Now, as I said, the Valspar paint we used on the pale blue car did have a tendency to separate very quickly, constantly stirring it. This looks a little bit different. So like, it remains to be seen. It is quite thick, which is how you buy paints. It depends a lot on the tinters that are used in them. With high fill, I would, you know, for that quantity of paint, you're sort of throwing that quantity again in thinner. There's different thinners you can use. I'm using a general purpose. Now, an acrylic thinner's probably better, but it'll keep the product. The product will flow better off the gun. Some people will even say a 2-pack thinner, particularly when you're doing metallics. They flow out and they just sit there beautifully on the car. I'm using GP, which dries very, very quickly, and it's 23 degrees in here, so I will probably use a retarder in it. There's your retarder, and that will keep the paint wet longer. The problem with retarders, though, if you've got a lot of repairs, they do, in keeping the paint wet, they do argue with the repairs and cause havoc. Now, this stuff might thin very quickly. It might not, I don't know. I've not used this colour. It's got pearl in there, it's got all sorts of stuff in it. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with it. I'm just going to dump a bit of thinner in there for now. And I want it to stay pretty thick, because the thicker it stays, the more product I have to use on the car. I've got 4 litres of this stuff. I'm not expecting to use anywhere near that, but because I'm doing the engine bay and inside the car as well, you know, I might use a bit. This is great. This is really, really good, because it's still too thick, which means it's thinning sort of similar to a high fill. If it only used, because some paints I've used, if you only put a tiny bit of thinner in, it really reduces them. And so you got 4 litres, but you probably only got, you know, 5 or 5.5 to play with. This looks like I'm going to get a lot of yield out of each litre. But that is still, that's still too thick. This is great. So I'm shooting lots and lots of thinner, and the product's going a long way. So this I'm very, very happy with. That being said, I still don't know. That's probably right there. That looks pretty right there. I still don't know how it's going to cover. So we're about to find out. I'm going to load up a touch-up gun, and we'll go and see what happens. Let's take a look. That's not enough air. Oh yeah, I'll tell you what, as a secondary teacher, I wish I had $1 for every time I've seen that stupid thing. The point is though, this looks like it's going to cover really, really well. So if I come across here, we only do very, very thin passes. We'll rub that horrible thing out. We only do very thin passes. Even so, you know what, I reckon we can reduce that even further. But it looks to me like this stuff's going to be champion to use. I reckon I can even reduce that further, you know. Well, we've got a mask on, we've changed our little thing. So I reckon, let's see how this goes. And as I said, we're just going slow. A little bit more careful now than we were doing the priming. You can pretty much stuff primer, it doesn't matter, as long as your preparation's alright. Now, the other thing with colour, you can be pretty, you've got to be careful with the metallic that you don't get strips in it. So your last coat sort of is designed to distribute the metallic particulate so it's nice and even and doesn't give you that stripy look. I'm not even doing this in a particularly great order, but I just want to get some paint down. And as you can see, I could have the pressure higher, but I'm not getting much overspray, which is great. That's how I want it. That's because of where I live that I'm doing it like this. Now for corners, I'm going to have to turn this right in. And whoops, the pressure down a bit. So we can get into corners. And the fan, if you have it on the fan when you do this, you'll get a load of the paint sort of building up at the edges. Now I'll move this. So this will stop that happening. Just nice tricky little areas like that. All we're doing is just getting the paint started now. Really good for things like under here. I could probably turn the pressure up a little bit. That does feel a little bit low. But you always see problems like this after you've finished. Well, it's getting there. Beautiful colour, I love the colour. I haven't done down there very well yet because I'm going to be dragging, we'll get rid of that. We'll be dragging the thing through the car. It's getting there. But it's a pain in the arse under here, I'll show you. I'm just sort of making sure I get everything under here. I've got to move back. Hang on a minute. Oh, and also it's under here. Under the lips of the guards. These guards have to come off again. I'm just sort of splashing it. I'm not using much product. But I guess that's more complete that way, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be right. I know it's being mental, but I'm really fussy about stuff like this. It's doing this touch-up gun just to, you know, doing these little areas here. I've lost my hair there. And you don't have to be as pedantic as I'm being, but I need more pressure. Hang on a sec. That's better. And this is all behind the bumper bar, so I don't see it. But we still want to just, you know, have it so that if we do take a bumper off, we're not looking at a bloody blue car. Right there. Whoops. Just starting to do the inside, sort of cutting around the spare, and I will put a clear in here, just because it's sort of an area where there's a fair bit of intervention, or a fair bit of, what do you call it? It's an area where there's a spare, so it's going to get sort of rocked around a bit. Good there. Very good. Well, I'm on a break. As I'm behind the doors inside the car, Haven't used much paint. You can tell this isn't a professional job because no professional would be stupid enough to do this sort of work inside a car, which is all covered up with carpet and dashboards and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to put my coffee down, or my tea. I've got tea again. Look, tea. Right. I think I've got it pretty well covered. Haven't used much paint. Haven't used much at all. Got stacks and stacks of paint left. So all the cutting is done. It's good, but not brilliant. Oh, I've missed a couple of bits there, but that doesn't matter. The interior can stay like that. I'm not going to waste any more paint on that. Having said that, as I said before, not much product went into it. Plenum chamber, there's a couple of little bald spots in there, but that's not too bad. Even behind that panel there. And I've done under the arches. They're just dusted, pretty haphazard. So what I need to do is flip these doors over and do the roof and the rear quarters and the front guards, the tops of the doors. The guards will have to come off. There'll be a little bit of touching up behind there, which is going to take 2 seconds. And then I reckon we clear it. I'm a bit dubious about clearing when the paint's so fresh, because what can happen is if you lay the clear down too wet or put a retarder in it. Oh, look, I've missed in there. I will do that bit. Yeah, if you put a retarder in or put the clear on too wet, it can mess with the metallic pattern and give you sort of runs in the metallic, if you know what I mean. It looks pretty awful. So there's no clear on it yet. As far as the interior is concerned, the only cleared parts will be the B pillars and C pillars. And also just that bib underneath where the screen lip is. Because that's where Toyota had them cleared. Maybe for condensation or something, I'm not sure. Of course, the entire doors need to be cleared. We don't have to worry about this. That's very, very sketchy. Hang on a minute. That's the crash bar. I'll dust over that, I suppose, but it's not a big deal. It really isn't. But my poor mum's sick today. I was round there this morning helping her, and she's not well. So I'm about to just blow this over, and I'll spend another couple of hours looking after her. I think it's because of her medication. She had some new medication which wasn't agreeing with her. So we'll get the doctor involved with that. But aside from that horrible news, I actually called the ambulance and they wouldn't pick her up because they're worried about the COVID-19. They reckon it's better leaving her at home. But I'll have to go and spend a bit more time there. But in the meantime, this isn't looking too bad. I'm missing bits like this, see in there? It's a little bit thin. You don't see that bit, but I know about it, so I'll go over that again. The screen that looks lovely. Pretty dodgy in that there's some sanding marks there. I don't know if you can see that. But what I'll do, I'll get that out with the clear when I wet sand it. But I'm just about to finish my tea and crack into it again. What else have we got? The new mask. Where's the bloody mask? They're the new filters on the mask, and you can see they're absolutely green. I've been putting tissues between my nose and that part there because there was some leakage. So now it's all right. I can't, it's not giving me any trouble. Those repairs are shock. Yeah, well, those repairs there are a little bit average, but it doesn't matter. It's better than it was. I'm quite pleased with it. To be quite frank, I'm not unhappy with how any of this is going at all. Pretty gutsy putting the doors on this stage of the game. But I've got to pack up quite soon. And I just want to hang them, you know what I mean? Get them out the way because I want to just brush up behind the guards. And then they can go back on. I'm just going to... And then I can just dust in here with the door closed, or almost closed. And that'll... I'll know then if it's... going to do the right thing. but it stands to, these normally shut line wise, pretty easy. It's a bit high there. Yeah, it's got to lower it down a bit. But I've got a freaking run there too. I might try and rub that out and just dust it. But I painted over where the because I painted with the doors on, so I set the shut lines and then painted the door so you could see where it was. And I tried to drill it, but the problem with that is there was a hole behind there anyway, so I can't see where it was meant to be. I think it's this hinge, yeah, this hinge I've drilled a couple of holes in. Okay. So I've just got to mess around with this. Until I get it where I need it to be. So I don't know if you want to see that crap or not, but still too high. Oh boy. I might just let it fall. Just like that. That's probably enough actually. Just do bloody low. But not far off. Door on, the shut lines are alright. I've just shot under here, oh where are I? Under the wheel arch, and also under the guard, just rubbing out any glue. But there's very, very little to do. I sort of lucked out being fairly thorough with that. The paint's just too soft to be doing this sort of thing too. Shit. I'm going to run into trouble in a second. I'm just going to just do that edge again. I've got no check strap on there, so I might need to just hold the door with the jack, I think. Oh, I've seen another spot I forgot. Just under here. I'm being fussy, but yeah, that's in me, I suppose. While I do that, I'll get the other door on. While I let this dry. And there's also a bit I saw somewhere on this guard. Yeah. Cool. I'll let that go off and then I'll do the other side. Then we can just adjust the guard in with that bolt there. Secure it down the bottom here, and of course at the front there. And what I'll do, there's also one inside the door at the top, up in there somewhere. There it is, I think. So what this means is that I'm really happy with how this is looking. It's looking really, really good. Not far now. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear all this together. I'm also going to clear, which Toyota didn't do, in here. With the doors off the trestles, I can do the bonnet and the tailgate. And hang those and we're good to go. It's looking good though. You like it? I like it. I really like it. Right, well it looks a little bit different. A little Starlie. In turquoise Tropicana. It's not been cleared yet, but I've had enough for a day. It's all paint inside. I left the tank in. That's the crash bar on the ground. That's a dash brace of a silver car, but that can stay silver because the dash brace itself is silver. This masking didn't turn out too bad. We saved the rubber from getting paint on it. There are a couple of little, there's a bit of tape there and I don't know, a bit of crap there. I can always brush touch that. I'm not worried about it. At the end of the day, I just didn't want green on, you know, on the rubbers. A couple of scratches I've left in it. These are all under the scuttle, so yeah, don't care. So yeah, just got a clear coat. I've fitted up the guards, the doors. Our rusty bit there looks pretty good. It's nice and sealed up. And it's all green inside. You won't see any of that. Even on the roof is green. It's blotchy, but who cares? Oh, look at this. I've got to run. That's not good. Is it easier to see from under there? Is it worth doing this job? God, no. Absolutely not. But would I do it again? Yeah, of course. I like to do things that don't make any sense. But yeah, very happy. Very happy. I love the colour. The colour's awesome. I have to get another couple of bolts. I don't know where they are. These were originally plated. And I've just painted over them because that's what Toyota did. See? That's right. So we can put that dash brace or the, crash bar across the front here. There's an upright which is supposed to be the body colour as well, but that's getting black rattle canned. The only thing I haven't painted is actually underneath the car. And the reason I haven't painted that is because I'm not going to. Under the seals, you can't see, the light's crap. But we'll remask around the windows. I wanted to get that masking off. I needed to get that masking off because I didn't want it drying with the paint on. So remask the windows and clear the car. Well, it's Good Friday, so there's been no work done out here. It's been sort of raining on and off. Yesterday the weather was fine, which is why we could get this little guy done. The colour is striking. It's sort of, it's called Turquoise Tropicana. It's colour number 751. The thing with it is it looks, let's look on the, that kind of looks like an aqua colour, but sometimes it looks green. In low light it looks green, and in sunlight it actually looks blue. Now I've still got to clear it. I haven't cleared it yet, obviously. I would have liked to have done it today or late yesterday, but I haven't. We've got neighbours who, you know, Good Friday's pretty important to them. And so we're not doing that. So what we need to do, we've got to remask this window. And on the other side, clear the car. Once the car's cleared, we just start putting it back together. And I'm not in any great hurry. We can do bits and pieces as we can. I haven't taken that tape off that thread yet. But very, very happy with it. Delighted with the colour. Stuff-ups. Well, there are a couple, I think. Oh, there's a couple on here. That's not great. There's a surround that goes around there, so that roughness there will get covered up. And I think it was thin there. That's underneath the spare. Look at that. There's still dust in it. That's beneath the spare. And all this is covered up. I don't even know why I bothered doing it, but I just didn't want it the way it was, you know what I mean? The other thing I've done, can't judge shut lines. Shut line's pretty good. But that looks wider there than there. I don't know. But it's even. That's wider again. Oh well. I've never been that fussy about them, which is bad, because I should be. Yeah, I scratched it. Look at this. I scratched it. But you know what? And it's covered up. And then clear. So, the problem with doing a car like this, and getting it really, really nice, there's a couple of things. Firstly, I'm really, really annoyed that I can't have the bolts plated and the nuts plated, all the sort of hardware plated. That would have been nice to do. It's going to feel sort of wrong putting a whole lot of dirty stuff back in here. Hang on. I had this so I could just wind it off and I've broken it. So there's that. But the other thing is the registration on the blue car, my little pale blue one that Rosie and I fixed up, that expires in 3 days. So 13th of April, I think. After that we can't drive it and I'm not re-registering it. So that means poor Alana, my wonderful daughter who had a seizure, which she hasn't had for, God, years, that means that I'm going to use her car as a daily. I don't really want to drive the Commodore. I want to keep the mileage off it, but not just that, it's really heavy on fuel. I'm back at work next week, and I'll be homeschooling, so I've got to do a lot of work online for the kids. What I was quite fussy about was the sills under there. We've got to get that looking good. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I would have liked to have it cleared in this video, but we didn't make it. But that gives you a good idea of where we're up to. Once it's cleared, we start reassembly. And the next video will have some reassembly, and it'll also have a bit of the disassembly of the blue car, because we've got to use some of the bits in it as well. So anyway, Take good care of yourselves, enjoy your classic, and I'll see you soon. What do you reckon? Jesus.